Good morning, Remy.
Morning, Breck.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Cowgirls. I'm Breck Kruger.
And I'm Remy Greer.
So Remy and I are starting to pre-record our lives to do later in the day. So Remy is once again up really early, California time, and it's 8:15 in Minnesota. So not too bad for me, but not great for Remy.
Which I guess is not that early for a lot of people, but that is early for me.
Good thing she likes her coffee strong.
I do.
Well, Remy, you had a busy weekend. You and James had a busy weekend.
Yeah, we traveled to Northern California and Nevada to do some ranch sorting clinics. So it was a lot of fun to see a lot of new faces, talk to people about the podcast, and just help people with confidence in general, personal and on their horses. And I know you had some stuff going on this weekend at the house as well.
Yes, we had our first ever everyday cowgirl camp. It was awesome. We had 5 girls. We're just doing small group ones just so we can spend more time with the people, and it's awesome. It was awesome. Had so much fun. It's always fun for me to watch the girls progress as the day goes on, build more confidence. We talked a lot about what their weaknesses are and where their struggles are just in life. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I had a lady that we've had before, and she's just had some setbacks in her life. She came up to me at the end of the clinic, and she's like, I just feel so safe with you. I feel so at home. And it gave her the opportunity to come ride her horse and have fun and not be worried about either what other people thought or the anxiety that she was dealing with that she'd never dealt with before.
That you said that lady had been to your clinics before, right? And yeah. So it's fun too to listen to their stories over time.
Yeah, and it's fun because she said, she always hears my voice. So it means that you're building this relationship with someone even if you don't see them every day.
Well, Remy, I believe that we might be live this morning. Oh, well, if you guys are tuning in this morning, please say hello. Tell us where you're from. Let us know if you have any questions. Also, something that Remy and I wanted to share is we can say now that we are making money on our Apple podcast, thanks to Remy.
Yeah, we're up to like 26 cents each, so it's awesome.
We're feeling very proud of moment for us, but it's going good. We threw it out there. We're getting a lot of listeners. A lot of people say that they like it. They love being able to listen to us while they're driving down the road. All kinds of good feedback we're getting on that. Remy, and I think that you can say, I can say, we've been getting some amazing feedback from doing Coffee with the Cowgirls.
Yes. So I've gotten a lot of really encouraging texts and a lot of people that are reaching out and talking about that. We are very genuine in what we're saying. So I don't really ever hide anything. And it makes it makes you feel better if you're not alone, especially I know after the motherhood one, because again, there's all that pressure that this should be the greatest joy. And it's not that it isn't the greatest joy, but it's great to hear someone else out there struggled that or at least you now feel like you have a relationship with us because you see us once a week. So, and I've had people reach out and they've been super excited, and we've had some other topics come up. So trust us, if you send us some ideas, we will be talking about them in the future.
Absolutely. If you have any feedback to share.
Someone must be calling Breck, just letting you know.
Phone's going wild this morning.
I know. I set mine on do not disturb.
I'm not sure if I can do that and do this live still. So do you know if I can do that, Remy?
Maybe. Who knows? But
if you're a techie out there, know that answer, please let us know. If you guys have feedback for us, just like what we're doing, if you have ideas for shows, let us know. We like getting those kind of messages. We are always looking for ideas of things to talk about. So I've been kidless, Remy, since last Friday.
What's that like?
At first it was a little weird, but but it's been such a long time since we've been without our kids for a long period of time. It's been pretty awesome. I miss them, but I'm not gonna lie, like making supper with my husband every night, sitting down to watch TV, whatever we want, just the two of us, quiet. It's been pretty dang nice. We get them back tomorrow, so let the chaos begin again.
It's nice to just have a break though sometimes. And James and I are lucky. My mom helps us with the kids all the time. So, but yeah, most of our time, our break comes because we're on the road at a show and they stayed home. So I guess that's still not really a break, but it's a little mental respite for a bit.
Absolutely. What I found is throughout this week, I don't need, I don't know, maybe it's because I've gotten used to staying at home. I don't need to go out to big fancy dinners. I don't need to go out and have a big night on the town, anything like that. I like just being here. I like enjoying the things that are around us. I like being able to just have, I just like the simple things. That's what I would say, I guess. And I think I knew that about myself, but I really realized it in the last 5 days or so that they've been gone, that it doesn't take much to make me happy. It's been fun just being here.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And same thing. We don't go out. We do go out to eat because we like to eat, but that's it. It's not because we're trying to go enjoy ourselves. Like the food is why we go out to eat, not because of anything else.
Not an extravagant date night is what you're saying, Remy.
We're like, it's like if we go down to the winery, it's because it has a really good steakhouse, not because we're trying to go down to the winery.
All right. Well, last week we had what I thought. I'm hoping this week will be one of my favorites, but last week was probably my favorite podcast or live that we've done together. As a person who I text Remy afterwards, I listened to it a few times and I'm like, coming from a person who listens to a lot of podcasts, that was really good. Lots of good information was shared. I don't know. It was just a really good topic and I loved it. And after we did it for like an hour, I had internet problems, which was such a bummer, but we got through it and it all worked out. So, and Remy was able to edit the one that is on Apple Podcasts. So if you listen to podcasts, listen to that episode on the podcast channel because it is uninterrupted.
Yeah, and I will, if we have any problems today, I'll edit through them as well. So
fingers crossed we don't.
Yeah, and if you don't want to look at our faces for an hour, it's a lot better to listen to us on a podcast as well.
Agreed. So let's dive into today. Today, we're going to be talking about who's in your circle. And I think that is another really good topic. And I think that it kind of goes with what we talked about last week. I think it's going to be a big topic. I think that there's a lot for us to talk about. Would you not agree, Remy?
Yes. And I think, again, it's looking back, like when we talk to you guys about topics, we're not anywhere near the end of our life, but trust me, we struggled through a lot of these. So it's not that we never struggled, but now we're just
we'll probably continue.
Yeah, we will continue to struggle. We're trying to give you the benefit of our past experience so that maybe you don't have to struggle for as long. You'll still have to struggle. You just don't have to struggle for as long.
Absolutely. So with that, let's dive in. Where do you want to start, Remy?
I will start with what I was when I was younger. So I was always someone that was pretty gritty, that wanted to work really hard, and that didn't think I needed really anybody. And I was going to do it on my own. And I didn't need help. I didn't need girlfriends. And I always had more guy friends than girls. And part of that was because you didn't have to let them be particularly close, right? You could have a good time, you go hang out, and then you could go home and fall apart or struggle, but you didn't have anyone to look weak in front of. And that's a personal fault of mine, right? Again, that was when I used to care not even if I cared if they liked me, I didn't want to be ever seen as weak or small. And I went through some really, really tough mental health stuff a couple of years ago. And I found out that there was people that I didn't realize were there for me, that were totally there for me. Some of them I knew were there for me, but I found a new appreciation for the people that you keep close to you in your life. And I am forever grateful. My life is forever changed by figuring out how strong your circle is and who's in it. And really, you go through tough times personally and professionally. And some of the guys that you were trying to bring with you, they can't come with you, whether out of their own jealousy or their life takes a different way, but they can't always come with you. And that was hard for me to find out too, right? Someone I thought was my best friend maybe wasn't my best friend. And then someone that I didn't even think cared about me was there to pick me up when all the pieces fell apart. So now I have this amazing circle, and I'm very careful about who I let into it. But I get to be completely myself, good, bad, ugly, crazy, funny, wild, sad with all those people, and I don't have to hide myself. And then it makes it easier for me to help people that are trying to hide themselves or are struggling.
I would say that when I think about who was in my circle, it was probably, well, it was in between the times when I really started thinking about who was in my circle or what I was bringing in to myself every day, right? Like what I was listening to, what I was seeing, what I really became conscious of that was probably in between the time that I worked for Purina and I took my job with the pharmaceutical company. And so that was probably 5-ish years ago. What happened was I was on the road a lot. I mean, I was putting on 1,000 miles a week and I was working with a lot of really cool people, but everybody that I worked with was in the agriculture industry. And it was just a tough year from a mother nature standpoint. I can't remember. I feel like it was a drought in the beginning, and then we had just an excess of rain. Prices were down across the board on everything, and it was a struggle. So everywhere I went, and the people I was surrounding myself with and the people I was talking with, just very negative because nothing was going right. Right?
Yeah.
So I would go to work and I'd be surrounded by negativity, and then I would listen to the radio and I would talking about the news, and that was never great. And then it just one thing after another, and I just got to the point where my shoulders just felt so heavy from all of the negativity. And it got to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore, because like we talked about last week, it's super easy to be negative. It takes literally no energy to be negative. Now, I'm not dogging on anybody who has that personality naturally. I feel like it's something that you have to come to on yourself or by yourself. But being negative, even though it's easy, is also very draining and it's heavy. It's just not a great feeling.
And the more negative you are, the harder it gets to break that habit. Right? Because then you start looking, it becomes more than risk assessment, right? When you're a realist, which is really what I am, right? Is what can go wrong and how can we remedy it? But then I still hope for the best to happen. It's really easy to slip into, well, I knew that was going to go wrong and there's no fix for it, right? Because if you are always seeing the negative and no positive or no just neutral things, it becomes like all consuming. You can't get away from it. And then if you're surrounded by people that are that way, there's no one to give you a leg up out of there.
Well, you become a negative person. And that's natural. I mean, if you're living it, if you're breathing it every day, you slip into that path, and it's not a great one. And if you are self-employed or you have an entrepreneur spirit, the one thing that you cannot be is, or the one thing that you have to work really hard at, is not being a negative person, because negativity affects your mindset and it will hold you back, like we talked about last week, and it will stop you dead in your tracks.
No, and as ranchers, we're really guilty of being negative a lot of the times, because it's like you said, and I know when you're talking about, so you guys in the Midwest specifically, you guys had a really bad drought followed by ridiculous rain. That's when you saw the hog barns get flooded out. So we got affected by drought at the same time. And it's hard no matter what you do. So if you own a sandwich shop, if you sell insurance, if you're a hairstylist, it's hard when you get into a bad part of business to see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially when you've done nothing wrong. But it's easy to get consumed by that negativity because it just lets you rest. And I know it sounds horrible, but when you're tired and the weight of the world is on your shoulders, sometimes you just want to sit down, right? You don't want to trudge forward. So be negative, be nasty, have all those things because it's easy. You shouldn't do those things, but it's easy. It's easy to lend yourself towards negativity.
And so kind of going back, Taylor Golden messaged us 2 days ago, and Taylor was asking us to talk about just the struggles of our 20s, which is like so funny to think about it, because I messaged Remy and I'm like, oh, Taylor wants us to talk about this. And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, that was an effing struggle. I'm like, yes, it was. It was an effing struggle. But so much goodness comes out of it. But anyhow, so, and we are going to talk about what Taylor asked us to talk about later on in our episodes. But one of the things that she said is, what habits did you guys have in your 20s to get out of that struggle? And I'm like, I don't really feel like I had any habits. I'm like, maybe Remy had some habits. But when I was writing down some notes on what we're going to talk about today, I think back to it, not in my 20s, but in my 30s, I definitely did develop some habits. And my habits came with our topic today about who's in your circle, because of all the negativity I was surrounded by, I knew I had to pull out of that trench because it was just so much, and it was overtaking me to the point that it was stopping me from doing what I really wanted to do. So I knew that I had to surround myself with somebody who was going to give me a positive word, encouragement, somebody else that I could see their story through a struggle and watch them get through the fire. And I found that through podcasts, and I got obsessive over them because it was somebody that I could listen to that loved the lifestyle that I loved. And that was the entrepreneur side of it, and talked about their struggles, just like what we do, and told me that you can get through the fire. And they showed me how to get a more positive mindset and how to keep those at bay who brought the negative energy and words to you.
Yeah. And so James and I were lucky in a couple of ways. So he had some really good mentors and heroes that their whole philosophy really was just put your head down and work harder, right? Just work harder, work harder. Well, you can work really hard and still not be successful. And one time we went to a horse sale, and we didn't know the guy, buys like the 3 top selling horses. And a guy that worked for him comes up and he goes, hey, my boss wants to take team roping lessons. And James goes, I don't really give team roping lessons. Like, we were roping a lot. He goes, I haven't won enough. My number's not high enough. And he goes, no, I just need someone to take care of my boss. Now, we did not at this point realize who his boss was. So this guy shows up in a nice truck and trailer, nothing fancy, just like a 2500 GMC and a nice stock trailer. And out pops the high selling gray horse, followed by the high selling buckskin horse, followed by the high selling blue roan horse. And then he pops a quad out of the trailer because he brought his own quad to run the sled with. And at this time, we probably didn't have, I don't think we had a quad. We would have had to pull it with like our cart, which wouldn't have been great anyway. But this guy shows up and he starts showing up every day, right? Like, and we're young, start showing up every day for roping lessons. And at the time, we were charging $60 for a lesson. And the guy pays James $100 every day. And he goes, no, I owe you money. He goes, you don't owe me. You're undervaluing yourself. So that was like one of my first lessons in don't undervalue yourself. Mm. And just way leads on to way. He ended up having some cows. So then he talks to James, hey, I want you to come look at these. We end up having, which is part of our brand. So if you look at our stalker cattle, our brand is a /2. We end up running a ton of cows and stalkers with this man. And I'm forever grateful. His name's Lynn Bogue. I'm forever grateful for Lynn because he was one of those people that he wasn't negative. He was very real, right? If this does not make money, then don't do this. Do not waste your time on anything. It wasn't just about cattle or horses, but he was also someone that gave us the confidence and the safety net that if you fail, And at some point you will fail. It isn't the end of you. And so we see this guy that's got a very big business that is super successful. And then you start talking to him about all the companies that went bankrupt, what he used to do before that company. And it's hard to see it because it's this older man that you don't think can make a mistake. And he tells you, you know, what he used to do and how he thought it would work and then it didn't work. And instead of struggling to make it work, he started assessing, will this ever work for me? Right? Because there's that whole fight. And that's conversations I've had with him before. Sometimes the struggle is worth it. Sometimes it's not. When he was selling stuff door to door, he's like, I can't make a lot of money. This isn't a long-term process. It got me enough money to now start this business or to do that. But he was one of the first people that honestly looked at us and said, you guys can be very successful if you do these things and if you're true, again, to yourself, right? Don't try and scam people, which we never did. Yeah, but that was the thing. He's like, you know, what draws people to you is that you're honest and you're good at what you do. Don't be caught up in anything else, and don't look over the fence anymore. Find your goal, build your house, build your business, and everything will come to you as long as you keep working. But that was the first person that I really realized it was, and his wife Sharon's amazing too. She was always someone that you could call and she would give you the pep talk without it just being that toxic positivity, right? It's this too shall pass. Like I remember one time I was talking to his wife about something. I said, when it rains, it pours. And I feel like I'm in a rowboat that has holes in it and there's no life vest. And she goes, find your friends because they'll stick a paddle out for you. And like, again, that kind of changed my mindset because at that time I was just so inward looking, right? It was going to be me and James against the world. We didn't need help. We didn't need a leg up. And as you started being more open to just listening to people, we ended up getting very good clients that turned into friends/family because they saw what we were doing. They saw how earnest we were in what we were doing and that we weren't trying to take things from people. We were trying to give you a service for which you would pay for us. But it was great to talk to older people that had been bankrupt, had ruined businesses, had made so many mistakes that you don't see from the outside. Again, don't judge someone in their winning season because you weren't there for the losing season. You know?
The most successful people that I know, and we know quite a few of them, I love talking to them because it's the same story with a lot of them. They're very resilient in what they do. They never give up. A lot of them have been bankrupt multiple times, but they're very passionate about what they do. So they reconstruct and they go back to the drawing board and they try again.
Yeah, and like when we're talking about bankruptcy, a lot of businesses go bankrupt. Like the person doesn't actually go bankrupt. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's like,
yeah,
you know, I think you hear that. I think the same thing when you're young. You hear that someone went bankrupt, and you're like, oh man, well, did they go bankrupt or did they just see that the business was no longer viable?
Working, yes.
You know, and you and I've had that discussion. How do you know if it's the universe telling you to stop or that you should persevere? Because sometimes I'm like, I get it, hands up, I'll wave the white flag, take a breath, and I'm like, no, I really, really want this, no matter what it is. If I want it, I'm going to make it happen. But it's hard. And then when you talk to guys, again, that are successful, it makes you feel not so bad because now you realize that everybody struggles.
That's the best part of everybody's stories. I think my favorite part of people's stories is the struggle. The struggle is what makes you, and that's something that you always have to keep in the back of your head. Like if it was handed to you, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun. You just said it about you and James hated taking the hand out, or shouldn't say hand out, but like accepting help by hand. Same. It's really hard for me to be, I shouldn't say me, it's really hard for us to ask for help. And I don't think it's because you feel weak. I feel guilty. Like I know how much stuff everybody else has on their plate. And I'm like, we can do this. We don't need that. So what always gets me, and I cry when I'm passionate about something. It's like the worst trait to ever have because I break down bawling. And for me, like we've had so many instances and over the last like 3 years where we don't ask people for anything, and they just show up because they love us, and evidently we must be good humans. It's hard for me to accept sometimes, but I love that. Like, I wish that I was more like that. Maybe we do show up and I don't know it, or I don't look at it like that, but it's a really
I,
cool feeling when you look around and those people
I
just are there for you because they like you.
and that's all. I mean, it's a great feeling to have people support you because they really like you. But the other thing is, and I had a conversation with another good friend last week, actually last Wednesday, about this, is when you find personal or professional success, you have to try and lift other people up with you. Because if you're only successful for you, what have
Oh,
you
it
done
never
for the
works.
world? And it doesn't come back to you. Like I always say, like, you should do good things for someone, not because I shouldn't do a good thing for Breck because I expect Breck to do something good for me, right? Put good out into the world and it will come back to you. And it's the same thing in your circle, right? So find goodness in people, find your matching spark in someone else and help that grow. And you will realize that some of the people that you leaned on now have to lean on you. And it's such a light burden because they've already been there for you. And
So
it's
I
it's
feel like,
tough when it's tough, especially when you come from like the trauma response of struggling all the time, right? It's tough to take that breath and be like, well, it's not a struggle anymore. I don't have to work that hard. Not that we don't work hard, but it's like I'm not struggling to make sure I make it. Now I'm struggling to make sure that everything is perfect or I can grow even more personally or professionally.
so after like every Wednesday, Remy and I talk on the phone after we've done these. And last week when we talked, James, she said that James asked, "Why are you guys doing this?" And Remy and I mean, it's not for the money. It's not for the money
Our,
for me. It's not for the fame
our
for me.
26 cents.
Maybe our 26 cents. Yeah. Maybe it is our way of giving back, though, Remy. I guess I've never really thought about that, but maybe this is our way. Like, you guys all know that I'm not the greatest at planning birthday parties, or not great at wedding showers, baby showers, not really great at weddings either, not good at any of that stuff. But maybe this is my way or your way of being able to give back where we can.
No, and I think this is going to go back to, and hopefully this touches some people. Other people were probably going to judge me for being super crazy. So I deal with depression. So I deal with depression like I do. I don't hide it. Like that is, I do not take medication, but I have to be very careful about slipping into what I call the grayness, right? Where it's wake up, go to work, just smile when people look at you, just try and manage. And it comes on slowly for me, right? It doesn't just happen overnight. And the hard part about depression is people are like, well, why should you be sad? It's like, well, it's not sadness. And I wish I wasn't. I have a great life. And now I have guilt because I have depression on top of just being depressed. And I realized it when I was so low that if you have the right people in your circle, right? Even if you're going through the motions, you're waking up and you're smiling when you should, and you respond when you should, and you do all the things you should, they notice that you are hollow or that there is something not right. And if you listen in that grayness, there's voices and hands that are reaching out for you. And it's hard when you're caught in the middle of that trap to realize that, first of all, you're worthy of those voices reaching out to you. And second of all, again, take that hand that's reaching through that grayness, through the veil to where you feel like nothing. Take it. They're offering it to you. And as you get older, you realize how important it is to reach back to those hands, and also to be that hand for someone else, to
Yeah.
listen, to not judge, to check in on your friends. Like I have a couple of friends that have moved, and I always call them like, this is your weekly welfare check, or this is your monthly welfare check, because you don't know what's going on with anyone ever. No matter what they tell you, you don't really know what's going on. And everything can look great from the outside and still be horrible on the inside.
I I do not deal with depression, but I deal with anxiety. And
Look at us. We're like a match set.
yeah. Even each other out here, Remy. But um with anxiety, you overthink everything, and you can't I don't know. It's hard to focus.
It's hard to focus. And then, like we've talked about it. So the other problem with anxiety is this failure or this, not even a failure, right? Whatever this action is tied with this little string to like a million other things that have happened. And for me with depression is you just don't act on a lot of things, right? You go like, and that was my coping mechanism. Just go through the steps. You'll make your way out if you go through the steps. And sometimes you don't find your way out. And that's where I got to until I leaned very heavily on an amazing circle of friends. But again, had I had some of the people in my life in my 20s, like they say, if you have 3 friends that you can count as your lifelong friends, then you're lucky. I've got at least 5, but not all of them have carried all the way through my life. Like my best friend from college, I know I can call her up and we talk probably once a year, but if I needed to call her up, she'd be there. But there's people that I thought would have been part of my life my entire life, and I don't even talk to them, like at all. And that doesn't mean that they weren't important to me, but I think that's the other thing you realize, especially it's hard when you're in your teens and 20s, and this is speaking to you young girls. You will not carry all of your friends through your whole life, no matter how much they mean. Now you can look back on that friendship with fondness. You can enjoy some people just because you enjoy them. But if they don't add value to your life, if they don't make you feel better, if they're not there to pick you up, or if they drain you, it's not worth your energy unless they are just that amusing to you. Like if they're just a source of amusement, well, then you know. And the other thing too is I was listening to the Clinton Anderson podcast, right? And he talked about if his house burned down, there'd be nobody there. And he realized that when he was working. Well, I don't think that to be true. And it's not because I'm naive, right? If my house caught on fire, now I qualify people. If my house caught on fire, would you be there to put the fire out? Okay, if you can't be there to put the fire out, and there's a couple that when my metaphysical house burned down or metaphorical house burned down, they were there definitely to put the fire out. But then there's the next tier, right? There's the guys that are going to bring you casseroles and clean dishes, help clean up your house, right? And then there's the next tier they're going to just call and check on you. And then you figure out who would have walked by and watched the fire burn. And worst of all, you figure out some people that would have put gas on the fire. But you learn to qualify your friends, and that sounds horrible, but it's true. As you get older, you realize that not everyone is there to enjoy your success, personal or professional. This isn't just about business. Some people that you thought would have your back to the end of time, when you start to grow, they cannot handle the growth. And again, as speaking to young girls, like this is dangerous. And I'm not telling you to judge all your friends, but don't mourn the loss of a friendship or make it try and work because you have so much history with somebody.
Before I get into what I was going to say, I just wanted to say, so people, I feel like for me with anxiety and you and depression, who's in your circle is like a super big deal because it affects how we are mentally. If you don't have super good people in our circle for us, I mean, if you deal with any of these things, it can make the days, the weeks, and the months really, really long. To the friend thing, I was thinking about this the other day because I get to do something really exciting soon that I'll share with you later. But my high school friends, Remy, I mean, I could probably pick up with them like where we left off, but when I left high school, that was book closed on that. I was done. But when I went to college, now my very best friend, that's where I met her. And we never see each other. I mean, if we see each other once a year, we're lucky. But I talk to her probably maybe once or twice every other week. We don't talk often, but I know that she's always there. She's a solid and a staple in my life. My circle is like probably 3, and the 3 that are in my circle, I have a large circle because I love people, but my circle for the most part, my inner circle is 3, and I don't ever see them. I talk to them a lot.
I'm lucky,
but I don't ever see them.
I'm lucky because a lot of my circle is right around me, and they made me be their friend with me kicking and screaming through it. And I say that because I was always a guy's girl, right? I really was. I was always a guy's girl. I didn't really value female friendships. And it wasn't because I saw them as a competition. It it wasn't for me. I didn't want to deal with other people's problems. I didn't think that, and part of this is the people I chose to have around me, right? I didn't understand their goals. I didn't understand their motivations. And I sit on a couple boards, and the joke is, as I'm not quite a woman, right? That's why I get to sit on some of those boards. I'm just not quite a woman because I have a very linear, I know I speak tangentially, but I have a very linear way of getting to things. Like this needs to be done and this, and I don't really care about why you feel that way. Now I've gotten better about caring because I actually do care, but I don't care so much that it affects the outcome. But so I love my circle because if I have a problem, I've got probably at any given time 4 to 6 women that I'm going to call on. And I'm going to call them and ask their advice. And then I'm going to call the next one, not because I don't want to listen to one person's advice, which is probably true also, but because they're each going to give me a different answer, right? They're each going to tell me what they think I should do or how they think that I'm acting. And then I can piece all those parts together and be like, okay, this is how I move forward. But it's great because they all have different life experiences. And the other thing I'm lucky about is my friends are brutally honest. We're super warm, we're super loving with each other, but we are so honest to the point that if you heard some of the conversations from the outside, it would sound horrible, but we don't not hold each other accountable. Like if you're being a bitch, they're going to tell you like, no, you're wrong. And it's hard to hear that sometimes, right? Like, no, you're not justified in that. And then other times, like you'll see stuff and you kind of let it go and they're like, that didn't piss you off. And you're like, not today. But I love it too, because my friends will be like even more angry about some stuff for me than I am. And I know, then you feel justified in your anger, but it's great to have friends that will call you out when you're being dumb, but will also be justified with you and tell you that you deserve to be angry or happy or sad or whatever the emotion is.
Oh, internet.
Hey friends, it's just me now. Breck disappeared again. And if we're live, hello, I cannot see you. The other thing, guys, and this is really true, do not find friends that just pay lip service to how awesome you are. That's a really tough thing to realize when you're younger, that you don't want friends that always agree with you. Some of my best friends don't agree with me at all. Awesome. With this shot, you can see all my bad paint jobs. So when you find people that only agree with you, then you don't grow as a person. You stop being able to be successful. And again, coming back to when I was younger, I didn't think I needed anybody, but dealing with the depression that I dealt with, I realized just how important it is for me to grow as a person and to grow as a friend, and then to be that friend for other people. Let's see if I can get Breck back. Are you back? You're back.
Oh my gosh, damn internet.
It is your internet, man. It's not mine.
I know. Damn road construction.
So I said some stuff, and I don't know if it went through on the live or not. When you're younger, it's really important to find friends that are going to hold you accountable and tell you the truth, and not and not just pay lip service to how great you are as a person, right? Because that's just as bad as negativity. If someone tells you you are always awesome and never tells you you're being an idiot, they're not really your friend. So, and I think that's hard to realize too when you're younger, right? Is to get called out by someone and still realize that they're doing it because they love you, because they want you to grow, because they want you to be successful. They're not telling you you're dumb because they're trying to tear you down. And that's a hard line to find too. Do they actually like me, or are they, the person poking holes in my ship?
So you and I are different on, and maybe it's because we both deal with different things. Like I have more anxiety. Not that I don't call until my three. And I lean on Brandon a lot too, obviously. He's my husband, but not that I don't tell them all my problems, because I definitely do. But the one time you said, like, are you just calling me to bitch or do you want me to help solve it? I'm calling them to bitch because I'm going to figure it out on my own. But when I go through, like when I'm going through a problem and I'm all worried, I'm so obsessed with listening to positive things. And it sounds so stupid or corny. It is, but I have to pull myself back into the right mindset. So I have to listen to somebody. And someday I want to do my top 5 podcasts and your top 5 podcasts and see.
Mine's gonna be very dark.
Oh yeah, Remy's it's a very eclectic, different mix than mine. But it'll be funny and cool. But yeah, I have got to listen to somebody positive to put that positivity back in me to get my mind. I just have to get back on the right mindset. And I think that what we're doing through all of this, Remy, it's brand new. Neither one of us have done any of this. My God, we we're laying a new foundation, a new path, but that's what entrepreneurship is new everything. And if you let your mind, or you let somebody get in there and say you can't do this, or that's stupid, or you guys are nuts, we would stop. We would not do it anymore. But if you surround yourself with somebody who's like, that's the reason I listen to the podcast, because I know that they don't think that I'm crazy, and they've all walked that line of starting something new, and they can say, or they're telling me every day, you can do this. I mean, there's nothing that you can't do. You can figure out anything if you keep the right people in your circle to tell you to keep pushing forward.
No, and I had a good friend of mine tell me one time, we were talking about friendship, right? And she goes, if you're telling the world that you're wearing a purple polka dot shirt, right? And you're fighting with someone, I got your back. You're wearing a purple polka dot shirt. She goes, then I'm going to take you behind the trailer and tell you that your shirt is in fact blue pinstriped, but I had your back in public, right? I told everyone, can't you see she's wearing purple dots? And that made a lot of things clear for me too, especially on those superficial friendships. I'll call you out behind closed doors, but I have your back in front of everyone. If we have a problem, you're not going to see it out in the world. We're going to discuss it privately. And I think that was another thing is, as you grow older, you realize that you can have very difficult discussions with your friends because you aren't going to agree on everything. Like my best friend and I don't agree on a lot of things. That doesn't make me love her any less. That doesn't make me respect her any less. She's still my best friend. But we can have a discussion about tough topics and then move on.
Yes.
Because you have to respect that person. And it's funny too, like, I don't have a lot of pictures with very many of my good friends. Like I think win pictures is really all we have. Because when we're together, it's not about taking a picture to post it. It's about enjoying each other's friendship and time.
And making the most of the time.
Yeah.
Making the most out of that time. Yeah.
And so it's again, that's one of those things that you see stuff on Instagram or on Facebook, right? And it's like, oh, it looks like they're having so much fun. Well, there's 30 of the same picture. So did they have that much fun if they all needed to sit there and take the same photo? Wouldn't their time have been better spent talking over dinner or sitting and doing what they want rather than
taking the perfect
taking
picture.
A picture with everyone's phone, because that's not that quick, really.
Yeah.
And
I think that life and age has also taught me. One of my best friends just went through some shit just work wise and nothing bad. But, probably in years past, I would have told her, like, I would have gave her such different advice, or I would have told her exactly what to do. And I just said, I'm like, this is really sucks, but I feel like it opens a new door for you. And because she's like, you're going to kill me for wanting to do this. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to kill you for wanting to do that. I'm not going to berate you for wanting to do that. I think if it's in your heart, then you should do it. And I don't think that you should have any friends that tell you or dictate to you what you should be doing, because how do they know? I mean, we change so fast. I don't think that, I don't.
And that's why it's hard, especially if you've been around negative people, to see honesty as not negativity. And so for me, I've been very careful about selecting the people to be honest with me, right? Like everyone should be honest with you. But for me, like if I want to do something which might not be a good idea, and they just bring up, and this is what I've had to do as a friendship, right? These are the negatives that come with that. But I'm here. You want to do underwater basket weaving? Awesome. Does it make you happy? Yes. Are you going to lose money doing it? No. Even if you lose money, are you still happy? Yes. Okay, then do it. Right? So that's how I take my honesty is. And that's why I do. Sometimes I get like really weird things set me off. And that's why I have to call my friends, like, am I out of line? And when they're all like, yeah, you're kind of out of line. You're like, okay, well, still feel this way, but I'm out of line. So I'm not going to act in a certain way. And again, it's hard to not, and some people dress up honesty as, negativity as honesty too. So it is a fine line that you have to start listening to your intuition. Do they want what's best for me? Or are they even neutral in the situation? And you start to figure out that if you've surrounded yourself with the right people, when they're being honest with you, it is because they only want good things for you. And it is hard for some people to see that, especially when you've struggled to get away from negativity, right? Again, it comes back to that. Do you want to vent or do you want an answer? And a lot of people just want to vent, and that's great. That's another thing.
That's me. I just usually want to vent.
And that's another thing that was life-changing for me when I was younger, right? When you start to ask that question, it changes your relationship with people, because not everybody wants to call you because they want to fix her. They just want someone to listen to them, which is great. And some people do want to fix it. And the same person that doesn't want you to fix it today might want your advice tomorrow, like your actual advice, not just like F that guy, right? Like F them. But, which is what I do when you call me to vent. But, and as you grow older, especially girls in your 20s, be honest in your relationships, right? What do you want from me? What do I want from you? Because the other thing is, you will meet some people that are very good at pretending to be your friend.
You get, you do, though. I mean, with age, it's easier to sort those people out. It's easier to see those people than I mean, I feel like in your 20s, you have to, it's a learning. It's
a learning experience, because you have to realize that when you didn't listen to your gut a lot of times, right?
You want to be everybody's friend, Remy. You want to be everybody's friend. And so
I really wanted to be left alone. I didn't even want to be anybody's friend.
Well, that's what happens. A lot of people want to be everybody's friend. And so you have to learn. You have to learn to see those people for who they are.
Yeah, there's another quote, right? A friend to everyone is a friend to no one. And it's true. Like at some point, not that people have to choose big sides, but at some point you need to know if they really are in your corner or not. And like I said, there's a couple of relationships that I had with friends that I would have lost the ranch on. I would have guaranteed you they had my back until the end of time. And then you hear stuff about yourself and you're like, okay, interesting that you think that, interesting that. And like for me, I just never really rose to the bait, right? If you said that I was horrible, then the world can think that I'm horrible, because I'm not. I'm going to continue to act in earnestness and honesty and loyalty. And 99% of the people are going to come back because they realize that it wasn't me that acted that way. And
I
when
feel
you're
like
young,
the circle is really big, Remy.
it is and it isn't, right? Like
Mine is small.
I'm super open, so that makes people feel like they know me because they don't hide anything. But at the same time, and like I never turn any friendship away. That sounds horrible. I don't turn friendship away, but you do have to kind of work to make me your friend because I'm just busy. Like I think people don't realize that, but like my best friend and I probably like we'll go where we talk every day for like an hour every day. And then we just get busy and we won't talk for a month and I'll be like, oh my God, I need to call her. And I'll call her. I'm like, hey, what's up? Just busy. Okay. And that's all the conversation is. It's like, you need anything? No, I'm good. Okay. And then we won't talk again for a while. Not because I don't love her deeply, not because I'm not worried about her or she's not worried about me, but our lives go in these different paths. But, she was one of the, I had to work to make her my friend. Like that was like one of the first people I had to work to make my friend because she wasn't big on friendship either. So that's why we're like a good match. She and I are a good match set because we both are kind of malcontents to a point. But I going through what I went through, and we'll talk about it in a mental health issue episode, but like going through what I went through, my circle did get a lot bigger and it didn't get smaller. It got a lot bigger because there was people that I had to learn to lean on when I was completely broken and thought I had nothing left to give. And literally thought I had nothing left to give. I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go forward. And so when you find those people that will pick you up, you realize that there's like a whole world of super amazing people out there.
There
And
is.
I'm trying not to cry because I love them so much. Um, but that was a realization for me, right? Like I'd closed myself off for 30 something years and I'd struggled and I'd fought to make everything my own, that I just needed to be more open, and all those little connections that I felt to people, I needed to develop them. But I also learned that not everyone was going to be my friend, and even the people that I thought were my friends maybe weren't. And after the first heartbreak of a friendship like that, and it's like a breakup, right? It's actually worse than a breakup. It's worse than like breaking up with a romantic partner. When a friendship breaks up,
That's deep, Remy.
it's it's worse because you trusted someone with all these other parts of you, right? And there was no sexual interest in it, so you can't even chalk it up to that. You gave them pieces of you and it wasn't enough, or it wasn't what they needed. And we had a couple of those friendships break up over the years, and James goes, you just don't seem as affected anymore. And I go, the first one broke my heart, and after that it got easier to let friendships go. And that's why I value the ones I have so highly, because I've been burned really badly. And those same people that used to call me at 3 o'clock in the morning calling, now want to tell people how horrible I am. Well, I wasn't horrible when you needed someone in the dark, right? When you needed someone, I wasn't horrible and I was there. So instead of justifying my actions or my perceived actions to people, and that's where it's good, where I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care what people think anymore, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Whatever they want to say about me, they can say about me. And if my actions prove them to be true, then they're true. If my actions prove them to be wrong, then they're wrong. But again, I've got this circle of friends, like, and of amazing men and women that have supported me when I didn't know I needed support. And I kind of stumbled into my circle, and I'm lucky that way.
I feel like you and I are different in the fact that I'm a people person. I love people. I love meeting new people. I love hearing their stories, but I'm also an introvert a little bit. Like, I'm okay with being by myself. And I feel like that because I like being with myself. My husband's cell phone's ringing. Um, I feel like because I like being by myself that um, just a second here. Brandon's carrying on a conversation. He needs to get out of my office. Um, uh, I feel like because I like being by myself, it's easier for me to just keep my circle small. And I don't let, not that I don't let people in as easily, but I don't know how to explain that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a ton of really, really good friends, but I feel like there's 3 that I lean on.
And I think uh, I
And maybe I'm scared to lose them, so I just
yeah,
don't.
I mean, I think
I don't
so.
know.
I always joke. So Michelle Cheek, for you guys that pen and sort, most of you will know her. She's like my little personal son. It's not that she doesn't have bad things happen to her. It's not that she's falsely positive, but she's one of those people that makes you feel warm and happy every time you're around her, right? And she's just that person. That's naturally her. I had someone, she was at a show one time and someone called me and they're like, is this real? Is this really how she is? I was like, I've been with her through bad business, through horrible things happening in her family, through good things happening in her family. And that's who she is. And she's funny because like she's just one of those people that she has a bad day and she'll feel bad and then she's like, I'm gonna shake it off. And it's great to be around someone like that because for me, I'm not that way, right? Like I would let some of that stuff spiral. Now I have 2 other friends that are brutally honest and will listen to me bitch and say whatever I want to say and not judge me for being completely broken sometimes. But that, that's a different relationship too. So I've got those 2 friends, and then I've got my mom, who's awesome, and I've got a couple other like 2 other older ladies that the same thing. I can call them at my most broken and ask for advice, and they'll give it without judgment. So yeah, my circle is big, but it was a long haul to get there. And again, I'm honest with how broken I am. It's not that I'm not like, look, I think I'm a badass. I know how strong I am. I also know what it's like to honestly not want to be alive anymore. And I think that makes you pick up the pieces and rebuild yourself. So I am, and part of it was I was always that way, right? I was always, I, for a long time until my mid 30s, I was unapologetically me. You took what you took and you liked it. And I was harsh and abrupt. And then I had kids and I suffered with depression and suicidal thoughts and all of those things. And then I came through the other side of it. And it's not that I'm not harsh and abrupt anymore, but I found grace and forgiveness for myself. I found grace and forgiveness for other people. And because I'm so unapologetically myself, it makes it easier to attract people that you want to collect into your bosom, right? Like you now realize that all these different people played this great part in your life, whether you thought you had them or not. And again, it's I people like have forced me into friendship, and I'm glad they did because without them I would have drowned. And and it's and again going back to, so like you're afraid to lose them, so you have 3. I've already lost them. I've lost everything, right? I have been so broken by friendships, by relationships, by business, by drought, by everything, that it makes you care more and less, right? I'm
I
going
was
to
just
love.
gonna say,
So it makes you this, it's this very weird thing, right? I get someone that I used to be really really good friends with. I talk to her every day for no less than an hour, and she was going through some stuff, and I tried to be there, and I tried to be there, and I tried to love her, and I tried to give her advice, and I tried to help her, and the friendship ended. But it's one of those things. I still love her, I still defend her. I just have to love her from afar. I can't let her drain me anymore. I can't take her burden as my burden because I tried to help her shoulder it, but she didn't want the help. So it makes me care more and less, right? I care very deeply. I just don't care if I get the reciprocation anymore. Because if I love you, and there are no strings attached. I don't love you because you can do things for me. I just love you deeply. I care about you. I want nothing but the best for you, whether that means that we're tight anymore or I just watch you from a distance.
I feel like when you've been through all of this shit, when you've dealt with the good, the bad, and the ugly, I feel like you're more aware and you're more appreciative. It's easier to let go of all the baggage that you used to once care about. When you've been through all that shit, it's easier for you to hold the things that you know to you are near and true to your heart and let all of the other shit just go.
No, and I think the big thing for me, like, so again, coming out of the depression, the big thing for me was that those people didn't qualify their love for me either, right? They didn't have, sorry, I'm trying to describe, they didn't have restrictions on how I was supposed to be loved for them, what made me worthy of love for them. And that's so hard to find. And when you're younger, you don't realize how hard that struggle is.
Don't cry, Remy. God, I don't want to cry. Yeah.
But it's true, because there's not a qualifier for your circle's love. And if there is, they're not your circle. They're not your people. And you have to let them go.
Mhm. I feel like I've always been, you talked about how you were when you were growing up. For me, I was a Lone Ranger. And I feel like I mean, it's definitely who I am today. And I'm cool with that because that's who I am. Now, I've tried to change and make myself maybe not that way. Maybe other people don't see me that way, but I definitely feel like that's how it is.
No, and I think that was, it is true, right? So James and I, it's still James and I against not against everybody. It's still, we're gonna fight hard for what we want.
Mhm.
But I had to realize how to let other people in, because it is lonely, right? It's lonely when it's just you against the world. And what happens if you have that mentality? And that's what I learned from you, right? If you have that mentality, you don't block out just the negative, you block out all the positive too. And again, right? Like, I'm kind of like, I'm definitely this side of witchy, right? I'm all about nature and that we are all connected, and um, that the universe puts things where it should. And again, it's about negativity, right? There's every time something really bad has happened, something amazing has come out of it. Now, we didn't sit there and wait for it, and we worked for it, but it's like, it's the same thing with people. I think people have seasons in your life. Some people will be there for forever, but there's seasons to friendships in your life. And again, you can look back on them fondly, but you wouldn't be friends with those people again, or you wouldn't. And I say, I use friends like as people that you need to have in your life, and not that you actually need anyone, but that you want to really have in your life. And I think that as you get older, it's easier to start to sift through the people that want to be with you. And the other thing, and we haven't talked about it a lot, but it's true, is there'll be guys. Someone just posted this yesterday on Facebook. I was trying to bring you to the top with me. The problem was you didn't even want to see me succeed, right? So especially in business or in a very good personal life, there's guys that you want to bring with you. You want them to be part of your inner circle. You want to bring them to your success. You want to help them find success, and they can't get out of their own way through jealousy or greed to make that step with you. And that hurts too, right? If someone's so jealous of you, and it's never really the ones you think, because you can see some of the top line jealousy, right? But it's never usually the ones you think, and those ones hurt. Those are the ones that hurt. The ones that you thought would be there. But there's a lot of guys that are happy to see, they're happy to be your friend when you're miserable, when you're broke. They're happy to be your friend. And then you start to be successful, and you watch that misery, just, it colors people for me, right? Now they're gray to me, they're black to me, they're not, they're like this brackish color. They're not good friends, because there's no light coming from them, because
That
they only wanted to join you in misery, not in happiness.
correct. That used to be something that really bothered me. And now I'm not even going to say it fuels my fire, because it doesn't. It doesn't put gas in my tank or fuel my fire, but it's something that I can just definitely look at now and be like, I mean,
it it's
it makes
it's
me
a
work. It makes me keep working harder, I guess. I don't know.
So again, with caring very deeply, right? If you wrong me, or if we don't agree, because I'm friends with plenty of people I don't agree with. Um, but if you don't add value to my life, or if you try and hurt me or my family or my friends, I don't even get angered by you. You just don't exist. And for a lot of people that want to feed off of your misery, them not existing to you is worse than you being mad at them, right? Because you just give them no attention. They take up no space in your life. And again, like, it's a very weird contrast, right? Because I care very deeply, But if you're bad to me, or if you make me not feel good about myself or not feel good about my family or my friends, you just don't exist. I can look, you could be on fire and I could walk by. Like, and it makes people think I'm so mean. And it's like, do you know how long it took me to get there? Because I don't do that right away, right? I don't just cut people out of my life. But like, once you're done, you're done. And there's been plenty of people that wrong me and then they come back and they ask for help with horses or whatever. And I'm willing to give it to them. But before, it used to really hurt me as a person, right? Why wasn't I enough as a trainer? Why wasn't I enough as a coach? Why wasn't I this? And now you're just like, okay, well, I bent over backwards for you and it wasn't enough. So now you're going to come pay me my money and I'm going to help you and I'm going to do my
I'm
job.
not going to do what I did before again.
Yeah, I'm not going to bend over. When your hour's up, it's up, right? Where before I would have stayed later and done more. Now the inverse is true. I have some clients that I bend over backwards for, not just because they pay me, but because they respect me. There's a reciprocal appreciation for what I do. So, but you do. And the same thing in friendships, right? Like those tiers of friendships. Well, if it was the friend that called to check on you after your house burned down, we can call and check on them, but you're not going to go put out their fire. If you don't want to. If you want to give more in a relationship than someone gives to you, be okay with that, right? And I think that's the other thing that you learn in your circle. Like, it's not just true of marriages, right? Because marriages aren't 50-50. Sometimes they're 100-0. Sometimes they're 90-10. Sometimes they're 50-50. Friendships are the same way. You just don't always want to be in a friendship that's 90-10, right? You want to...
Where you're giving 10.
Like when you're only giving 10 or they're only giving 10 every time, that's not fair to anyone. But you have to recognize that too. Like, I had to recognize that there's some people that I will love and do anything for, and they wouldn't do it for me. However, I wouldn't change my actions because I'm doing it because I love them and I think they need it. Now, if that never comes back, it never comes back, but I don't feel bad about it. I didn't withhold what I could have withheld because I felt petty about something. If you love someone and if they're in your circle, you will do almost anything you can to make sure that they are taken care of mentally and spiritually, not always financially, not always physically, but you have to be there. And for me, I have to be there, right? I have to be the phone call, not because I want to be the hero, but because I was the one making that call before.
You've been through it.
Yeah.
You've been through it. Last week when we were talking, you mentioned that a rancher had told you or sent you something that said, don't tell your dreams to small-minded people. And I personally feel like true words have never been spoken. Because the fastest way to kill a dream is by surrounding yourself with people who don't believe in you or say that you shouldn't do something. And that kind of answers some of Taylor's question from the other day. And that is what, once again, it's so important to know your circle, to know the people that you're telling your dreams to know that they've got your back and they believe in you 100%. And whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, it's like, so my circle, like, look, like we all got a bad bitch attitude in my circle. Yeah, like even Sonny Michelle, like, you don't test us, right? Like, and I don't mean that to scare people off, but it's like we violently believe in each other, right? We really believe
violently believe in each other.
It's true, right? It's easy to passively believe in someone and be like,
I love it.
You go, girl, right? But it's not. It's like, no, you got this. You're a badass. Like, you can embrace everything. And the other thing too is like, you don't realize how important that is until you have people not believing in you. So we violently believe in each other, right? We are the best that we can be. And if we're not, we're going to get there. And I always joke because people like, and this is true. So some of my very good clients are some of my best friends. Now, part of that is I see them 2 or 3 days a week. And so we have all this shared history and all these moments. Now we'll tell you every story we have. Like, there's no hiding anything. Like, there's some really long running jokes that people that weren't even riding then or riding with us then know the story. They know what we're alluding to. And from the outside, people think we're being cliquey. No, come join, come in. The water's fine. We'll tell you every dumb thing we did, but we laugh about it, and it's just, but I understand that it's kind of intimidating when you see a lot of strong women together and you don't know that you can break in. Well, maybe just come ask. Like, we're not mean. A lot of us have resting bitch face, not all of us. We're really not mean, but you gotta make the approach, because for most of us, naturally we're not openly friendly. And going back to people making me their friend. And so Jenny Christian, who's another one of my clients and friends, and Michelle, she did come at the same time, right? And the standing joke is I'm never worse than the first time you meet me. I don't try and be mean. I have resting bitch face. I'm very, like, I'm an extroverted introvert. I'm extroverted because I have to be. Otherwise, I don't really talk unless you know me, and then I never shut up. So
we're kind of the same.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things, right? And so I guess they left the first lesson and they're like, we're going to make that girl our friend. Like, we're going to make that girl our friend. And now they're two of my closest friends, and but it's true. Like, they had to make me be their friend because I was all about business and I was all about showing everyone how good I am at what I do. And part of that comes from being also a woman in a male dominated field.
I was just going to say that.
I don't get to be bad, right? If you're, and this is true for anything, like, if you're a woman in a male dominated field, you don't get to falter, right? Because if a guy in a male dominated field messes up, he's just a dumbass. But if you mess up, now you're the representative of every woman in that field. So, I used to be grittier. I used to be tougher. And it's not that I'm not gritty, I'm not tough. I just don't care if you like me anymore. I don't care if I'm not enough for you, because I know that I am doing my job. I am doing what I am supposed to do in all walks of life. Now, it doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but I'm not wrong in what I'm doing. And because you're not comfortable with how good I am, and again, that comes from being around strong women too. Be unapologetically yourself. You want to carve a new path? Carve a new path. Do what you want to do, and we're here to cheer you on in the background. And that's awesome too, right? When you surround yourself with people that, no matter how crazy you think your dreams are, they don't care. They're like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe try a different approach, but do. And that's what's good about having a bigger circle. You're going to get some different ideas about how to do what you want to do. But they're not going to tell you you can't do it unless it's like crack. Then they're going to tell you no.
Unless it's something dangerous for your health.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I think that another really good conversation. I hope that everybody got something out of it. Obviously, somebody said in the comments that you guys both have such different perspectives. We're just such different people. I mean, we have a lot of similarities, but we also have a lot of differences, which makes it good, because you do get two different perspectives, because there is no one person that is the same as another. As you can tell, Remy loves hard, and she's got a big circle compared to me, where I love hard too, but I like to keep it smaller. I would say I'm the funny friend. I can bring the life to the party. I love to have fun, but I'm probably only going to tell a few, because, and now that I think about it, maybe I was the person who told a bunch of people my crazy thoughts and my crazy ideas, and they shut me down, or I just figured out over time they really weren't looking out for my best interests. Maybe that's what it was. So maybe that's part of the reason that I keep my circle a little smaller. I don't know. I don't really worry about it anymore. I can tell you with certainty, with age, you really start to weed out the shit that makes you pissed off, angry, not happy, and versus the shit that makes you really happy and feel like a good person, feel like you're doing good things. As you age, it's so easy to separate that. You don't give a shit anymore. You're going to do the thing. It's easier to do the things that make you happy the older you get. For most. For me, that is very true.
No, and I think so. We talk about like some women are map makers, right? They're going to forge their own path. And if you're strong in your conviction about forging your own path, because it's like the other deal, right? The other cliche, your vibe attracts your tribe. It's true. Like if you're a strong person and you're really strong in what you do, you will gain people in your life that I hesitate to call them followers because they're not, right? They're strong in their own right. But you attract the people to you. Again, put good out into the world. Put out into the world what you want back, and it will come back to you. Maybe not how you thought it would, but it will come back to you. And that's a tough that's tough when you're younger, right? To not want to fit in. Now that wasn't a big thing for me because I did the opposite. I walled myself away from so many people. But it's tough to not take people as a threat, or for me it was tough to not think that people didn't want something from you. Why are you being nice to me, right? Why do you want things from me? So as I've gotten older, I really did realize like what I put out into the world, I attract people by being strong and being true to who I am. And then I've attracted the right people. And that's hard too, is you'll see someone that you have to realize, again, that's intuition. Who are you attracted to? What do they offer you that makes you feel full? And then my thing is, how do you fill them up too? Because you don't want to be the greedy friend. You don't want to be the energy sucker, right? You want to be somebody's sun or somebody's warm rock to lay on every once in a while. And it doesn't mean you have to be that all the time, but you can't just be the friend that wants to take all the time. You have to be the friend that's there too.
Agreed. Well, Remy, we're at an hour and 16 minutes.
And I will edit out the couple minutes where we were messed up earlier.
Little black. It's better than last time. Yep. I'm going to have to find a or somebody who's a wizard at technology to help me out with this. Right before we came on this morning, I found a quote that somebody shared, and it's from a coach, I believe a wrestling coach, possibly football coach. I'm not sure, but I thought it was good. So I'd just like to share it this morning. On every team, there is a core group that sets the tone for everyone else. If the tone is positive, you have half the battle won. If it's negative, you are beaten before you ever walk on the field. It's true in pretty much every scenario that you've ever put yourself in. I hope today's conversation helped a lot of you or some of you to think about who's in your circle, if they're good for you, if they're not good for you, what you would do differently with your circle. Anything else you'd like to add with that, Remy?
No, just go on with your bad self. Really. Go be yourself. And everything else will follow. That sounds so easy, I know, but it's true. Go be yourself, and the right people will be attracted to you.
Yes. You should maybe write that down, Remy, for our hashtag.
Yeah. You know, it is a learning experience to figure out, first of all, how to be yourself, and then how to weather friendship breakups, because those are tough, man. They mess you up. But I think your tribe is attracted to who you are. And if you are genuine with yourself, which is very tough, if you're genuine and honest with yourself, you will attract the right people every time.
Absolutely. And time and age is the only thing that betters your understanding of this whole conversation today. I'm sure that we're going to continue to get educated on it ourselves, Remy, over time. Thank you for joining us this morning. Hilarious that I was supposed to do this as a pre-recorded video, and it is now live. We just roll with it. Next week, we are going to be doing part 1 of what we believe to be is a 2-part story. If we can talk for an hour and 20 minutes on who's in your circle, I'm pretty sure that we can talk for a lot longer than that on the topic of success. We're going to talk about what success looks like, how you handle success, and how you pull yourself back up when you're drowning from it, or when you don't know how to handle everything that goes with it. I think that between Remy and I, we probably can share stories of personal stories. We can share stories of people that we know, we've seen. So yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us, and I will see you next week.
Sounds good. Have a great week, everybody.